His way to a 6-day head of Commonwealth meeting in Samoa, the Prime Minister said that he wants to focus on the future. He will arrive at the summit tomorrow, where it's understood the issue of reparations may be forced onto the agenda. The Bahamas and Barbados are among Caribbean nations pushing for trillions of pounds in compensation for Britain's role in slavery and climate change. To the US now, where Kamala Harris has denounced Donald Trump as a fascist who wants unchecked power after allegations were made that the former president admired Adolf Hitler. His ex-chief of staff, John Kelly, said that he had witnessed Trump praising the Nazi Germany dictator on more than one occasion. The Trump campaign has categorically denied the allegations made by John Kelly, who has since become a Trump critic. But Vice President Kamala Harris used the opportunity to criticise her presidential rival.
It's deeply troubling and incredibly dangerous that Donald Trump would invoke Adolf Hitler, the man who is responsible for the deaths of 6 million Jews and hundreds of thousands of Americans. All of this.
Those are the latest GB News headlines. Now it's time for Headliners.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Hello and welcome to Headliners, your first look at Thursday's top stories with 3 comedians. First things first, hot off the press, let's crank through the front pages. The Times. PM's chief of staff is drawn into Trump row. It will appear. There it is. Telegraph's. Starmer's top aides drawn into... Can't say anything again. Guardian. Schools funding crisis grows as special needs costs soar to $10 billion. The Mail, fury over Reeves' raid on private sector pensions. The Sun, ban on vapes. The Daily Star, American war of interference. The Times, first of all, Leo, that's what we got. We got a new set, we got a new computer system. we messed up, what can I say? But we haven't messed up here because we're going to start, first of all, with the... this is the Times, isn't it? Yeah, Leo, you're going to crack on.
Don't worry,
Show us your expertise.
My brain is still running on the old system. So, yeah, this is about the controversy engulfing Keir Starmer and the Labour Party as the Prime Minister's Chief of Staff is drawn into the Trump row. So Donald Trump has accused 2 of Sir Keir Starmer's most senior aides of anti-American election interference as part of a far-left plot to put Kamala Harris in the White House. This is after Keir Starmer's aides went over. There's allegations that
they're still there, I think, aren't they?
That they helped advise the Harris campaign. So that's, I mean, that's election interference, and they're being paid. So there's issues.
Oh, are they being paid though? That's the issue. They work
for Keir Starmer. You think they're doing it for free?
No, but they're not being paid in America.
There's somehow like suspending payments.
I'm just talking about American law here.
I think the whole thing stinks, and we're also seeing they advertised for 100 Labour activists to fly over and help with the campaigning. Can you imagine if that was Russia going over and helping with an American election? Can you imagine the furore? And it's an even more far-left communist nation than Russia, unfortunately. So this is huge ramifications for the UK. I mean, can you imagine how Trump, when he's elected, which he obviously will be, when he's elected, he's going to absolutely loathe and detest Keir Starmer.
Well, that's it.
Very bad for Britain.
I mean, Nick, this is really a terrible choice. I mean, no one knows yet to what level Starmer had any direct impact or not on this decision to send out Labour's, activists, but it's terrible optics, right?
It's not great optics, yes. Morgan McSweeney, it paid for him to go to the DNC, and so Trump and Vance have launched this FEC complaint, Federal Election Committee. And what's shocking is Starmer has managed to alienate so many people so quickly. I mean, the British working class, old people, the richest man in the world. Now he's gone for the President of the United States. Yeah. And what he's missed, he's been trying to downplay and say, oh, he's sort of annoyed about this is nothing, why is anyone going on about it? But obviously there's this tension with America. They traditionally don't love English people or British people going over telling them what to do. It's kind of a thing.
Yeah, pay taxes on tea.
Yeah.
Like
we don't want to bring this whole thing up again. And Trump doesn't like anyone undermining him. So Starmer, he had this nice meeting with Trump. He says it's not going to affect the relationship, but it's a kind of own goal. He needs to do something to fix it.
And Elon Musk, he's also sort of waded in because it turns out that one of their policies they were working towards was it to kill Musk's Twitter.
Yes, that's right.
Not even having the respect to call it X.
Yeah, so Elon Musk is weighed in. There are allegations that Labour was trying to kill X, or Twitter, as everybody still calls it, by harassing advertisers, which is how the far left attack a lot of institutions and businesses on the right. I can't think of any right now.
No, really?
But yeah, this is terrible.
Hey, what about GBNews?
But this is we've sort of seen in the Western world, in the civilized world, we've seen great leaps forward in society with the decentralisation of speech and the sort of government being seen as fallible. And now the left want to change it so the government is seen as infallible, can decide what's true and what's false, what's misinformation, what's not, and also as well as controlling speech, make themselves completely infallible.
But more than important than that, the Times also has that Rihanna is a Rovers football fan. That's probably the most important, much more important, surely, than democracy.
That's obviously come out of the
our relationship with American.
The P. Diddy trial has revealed this.
Oh, really? That's what it is, right?
And also, is sake the new Prosecco, which is what I've been asking?
Yeah, and also, kanpai. Do you know what that means in Japanese?
No.
Okay.
Can we say it?
No, but you can say it in an accent. You kanpai!
We definitely can't do that.
Are you sure?
Don't think so.
Wait a minute, let me check.
Kanpai, isn't that just...
I'm just checking.
Isn't kanpai...
Yes, no, that was not allowed.
Isn't kanpai just free bentos?
I don't even know what that is.
Kanpai. He's talking about canned pie. It's a good joke. It's a quality joke. People at home will love that.
I'm too posh for that.
They'll be laughing inwardly at home.
They might be laughing outwardly. They might not be dead inside like you two.
The Daily Telegraph, Nick, what are they going with? Similar stuff about
Similar
Starmer?
stuff. They've got Starmer's top aides drawn into Trump row, which we've just done. They've got slavery reparation demands will mean endless rows, says PM. We're going to get to that later. It's actually Starmer doing something sensible for once. Say sorry for backing Kaba the gangster, Corbyn and Khan told. So Lord Stevens, who's a former Met Police Commissioner, has basically said that the likes of Corbyn and Abbott sort of jumped in a bit fast, some would say, into saying...
Well, this is back in 2022, just after the shooting happened. There were some protests, and Corbyn was out there, as he does.
You might want to wait, is what we're learning. We always had Jussie Smollett, and now we've got this Kaba thing. You might want to wait and check the character.
Duggan as well.
Yeah.
I mean, there seems to be a pattern here of, somebody getting shot, allegedly a gangster, the streets, erupting in protests of mostly white people, from what I saw, and, Jeremy
Were you there?
Diane Abbott. No, but I saw a video. I'm not joking. There wasn't a single black person.
Well, this is the one that protest that was yesterday, as opposed to the one that was...
The Chris Kaba protest, and I think the reason for that might be that Chris Kaba shot black people apparently, so maybe black people don't like people who shoot black people. That would make sense to me.
That does make sense, yeah.
Even the BBC today put out this tweet, Chris Kaba verdict leaves community traumatised. Quite a strange tweet, and it actually had a community note saying that there's no evidence that the community is traumatised. It's the opinion of a single man, unless they mean the criminal community. It's a strange tweet from the BBC.
The community might even feel safer that a criminal has been taken off the streets.
Well, we've got some more Kaba stories coming up in the next section. What other paper we got? We've got The Guardian, Leo.
So The Guardian has schools funding crisis grows as special needs costs soar to £10 billion. Everything's soaring. The costs of everything are soaring.
Except wages.
I don't know why. Well, if you're unionised, then your wages are also soaring, which means your tax bill is going to be soaring, Nick.
Nice.
But yeah, special needs education. I don't know if it's because they sort of incentivise people to get their kids diagnosed with stuff, and everybody's getting diagnosed with stuff these days. I've noticed in the comedy community, every boring, pasty white comedian is getting themselves diagnosed with ADHD.
It's just so much easier than writing jokes. Writing jokes is...
Let me just clarify, though.
Pierre Novelli, the most well-balanced, best at networking comedian I've ever met, and he's all, I'm autistic. It's like, you're not exactly Harvey Price, are you?
A couple of things, Leo. What have you got against pasty white people? Number one. And number two, all comedians are autistic, aren't they? I thought that was just how we were.
We've got various shades of white people now. Now that Josh has put fake tan on his
Yes. It was not... I did not put any fake tan on. My wife did. So the thing is that there are... Yes, of course, there are the possibility of claims going wrong here. The other issue is that this is now is being paid by local councils as opposed to from central government. So there's incentive local councils. They don't have the requisite facilities, and then they have to go down the private route, and those people are charging a lot of money. I know, and was talking to a friend of mine today, and his son is autistic, quite severely, and will need to go into a different school system. And it's just very hard to get the funding. It can take years. Anyway, just saying it's a bit sad. There's actually, you know what? Let's make this even sadder. Let's quickly just mention this Pellicot tells rape trial. We must change society. And this is Giselle Pellicot, who is the French woman who is the most unbelievable story. But
literally,
well, no, I mean, no, there's no incentive. You're not saying it's in any way.
No, I just meant the meaning that you meant, Josh.
OK, well, anyway...
Is this the fun banter we were meant to have?
This is the fun banter. No, but the point is, she is an icon. The way that she's come forward, the bravery, what has happened to her is beyond disgusting. And, you know, I hope that moving forward, people will not be so evil. Right, let's go on to the Daily Mail.
Yeah, Mail has fury over Reeves' raid on private sector pensions. And so experts, although we don't trust experts anymore, but experts blast Chancellor's plan to impose national insurance on employers' pension contributions while sparing, you'll never guess this, public sector. So, of course, it's a typical attack on Labour. The public sector can do what they want, but they're going to make things hard for employers. I mean, that's barely news, is it? That's just Labour's whole strategy, isn't it, at this point? And then we have a tragic story about Liam again. But I don't know. Do you want to comment on the main one? Anything on that?
No. I'm more interested in this. I'm thrilled that my husband gets on with my male best friend. He'll never guess we've been lovers for 30 years.
I think he has guessed, and he just likes the peace and quiet when she's out of the house.
And just because Lewis isn't here, this is £1.10, 85p for subscribers.
Let's move on then to The Sun. Breaking news.
The Sun...
So about they're going to introduce the banning on vapes.
On vapes?
Yes.
They're going to ban vapes?
It's happening. So there it is. We've got it right there. Ban on vapes.
They're going to hand out... The NHS is going to hand out cigars to try and wean you off vapes. So you're going to switch to 20... Havana cigars a day.
Well, they get a discount from Cuba now because it's a Labour government.
I mean, I thought vapes were supposed to be the healthy thing that got you off smoking, or healthier thing. I think the trouble with vapes is they taste too good. Some of them, there probably is a Crunchy Nut Cornflakes flavour. But yeah, they taste too good. When I'm walking behind somebody who's smoking a delicious bubblegum vape, I like smelling that cloud of vapour.
I am a little worried. I mean, I hate smoking and I hate vaping, but I'm a little worried they're banning everything.
Yeah.
So eventually people will just have like violent outbursts instead. Like, aren't these the things that people use to cope with the world? For example, to cope with a Labour government. You're like, I just want to have a cigarette, I just want to have a vape. Labour's like, no, no fun, no relief.
Yeah, but
where's it going to come out? Maybe we'll bring that back the empire. That'd be good.
We should get you some cigarettes.
But there are also ramifications because it's used to lower people not actually smoking proper cigarettes.
Yeah, it weans them off.
Yeah.
It's like banning methadone. We need more methadone. That's what I've always said.
You don't need any more methadone.
No, I'm fine.
Yeah.
3 a week.
All right, and let's finish on the Daily Star then.
Methadones a week. Yeah, it's the American war of interference, and it's very much the same story as before, but with a star twist, which is Orange Man Baby accuses Sir Keir's government of meddling in US election. And that's quite a partisan stance for the Star.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's actually very newsy.
Trump's about to be president of the United States, in my humble opinion, if he survives. And the Daily Star are going all like pro-Starmer Orange Man Baby. I think Trump has a point. Why does he want the Labour government interfering in the election?
Yeah, and also it's sad to see the Daily Star, which was one of the last bastions of British journalism that hadn't Guardianified. You know, the Telegraph, the Times, they've all turned into the Guardian. I know the Star is the Guardian as well. They're all like, you know, oh, orange, he's orange.
Yeah.
Orange and he's got bad hair.
The sad news also about Jeff Capes dying.
Yeah, Jeff Capes.
I mean, that's sort of a cultural icon, really.
Childhood icon.
Yeah.
Very good at throwing that big log.
And the shot put, I think he's still got the British record for the shot put.
Yeah, well,
incredible athlete.
It's called tossing the caber, just because if I don't say it, people will tweet me as if I didn't actually know. I was trying to change it for comedic effect, OK, everyone, but they're going to tweet me, it's the caber.
I know, he's the one who got me into bodybuilding.
Oh, really?
All to him.
And it's stuck ever since.
It's stuck and it's there.
Are you on a Ozempic, by the way? You look good, but you're on a Ozempic. You've lost your hair, you've lost your body weight.
It's all optical illusions.
Really?
Yeah,
Are you in the Albanian mafia?
That's what I'm going for. Thank you so much. I'm glad you noticed. Right. Coming up, we have the front pages done. Join us after the break for Jeremy Corbyn and also Munsk not missing his. See you in 2.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
The former royal correspondent for the Sun newspaper, Charles Ray. Good to see you this morning, Charles. And so good to see Catherine back to work
with a hug.
It is. It's fantastic. I mean, there are a few royal jobs that touch at the heartstrings, and this is certainly one of those. And I think it's the first time we've actually seen Catherine back in a royal duty since she herself confirmed that she'd finished chemotherapy.
Done so much, haven't they, the Princess of Wales and the King, to raise awareness for these cancers.
Here we have both the King and Catherine having, explained to the nation and the rest of the world that they were battling or are still battling cancer, just like everyone else.
How sincere is all of this? I mean, it looks like she's a wonderful, kind, caring woman, but I don't know. I've never met her.
Well, she is a wonderful, kind, caring woman. That is without a shadow of a doubt. And William heard about this young lady on a visit to the air ambulance, and they invited her because she's a photographer, so she wanted to take. She has a bucket list and wanted to take pictures of an investiture. I mean, make no mistake, people like Catherine are just absolutely wonderful in what they do and how they do it. I mean, and Catherine is the superstar of the royal family. Of that, there is no doubt.
It's the cockles of my heart, Charles. It really does. It's really good to see you. Thanks very much.
All the
Thanks,
best.
Charles. Thanks. And Liz, who is this 16-year-old amateur photographer who was hugged by Princess of Wales yesterday, has said it was a dream come true.
I bet it was.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Mark Dolan tonight is your weekend dose of news, debate and entertainment.
This sounds like a wild conspiracy theory.
Don't miss My Big Opinion. Mark meets at My Take at 10.
Democracy is a funny old thing.
And we don't do boring, not on my watch. I just won't have it.
Let's go and get another glass of that bubbly. You've earned it.
That's Mark Dolan tonight, Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 11, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. I'm Josh Howie, and with me still are Leo Kearse and Nick Dixon. More mail now, Nick. And who gagged me outside the bedroom?
Great question, Josh. It's how Chris Kaba's family fought to gag the press and keep the truth about gang members' violent past a secret from Britain. So, obviously, this case is massive, but the journalists, they wanted to get the full facts, apparently, but this was suppressed. There were these reporting restrictions, which we hear so much about. And the family argued that if the details of the gang connections and gun violence were known, it could prejudice future proceedings, which it obviously totally would. I mean, it's part of the character of the person, but obviously the family wouldn't want that out.
Isn't it the sort of thing that should prejudice proceedings?
One might say that, Leo. One might well say it. I don't dare say it because...
Can I just say that there's something to be said for the fact that the jury, in this case, didn't know anything going in, because there can't be any implications of that having prejudiced it. But like you say, it depends if they're looking forward for making more cases out of it and more judgments on whether this is a legal death or not, then yes, of course it would. So there's something to be said for their case. It doesn't, of course, families, they want to protect the memories of their loved ones, and there's no indication they wanted to hold it back longer than these future cases may possibly happen for.
Big criminals have put a £10,000 bounty on his head. I mean, it feels like...
The police, obviously, yeah. So I just want to say they're great guys, because I don't really want a bounty on my head.
They absolutely are great guys. And it's sad to see people in the... I know we spoke about it before, but politicians have been trying to score political points off the back of this case, standing up for Chris Kaba. And it's disgusting. The police... People in the police are worried about the way things are going. Yeah, well, we're going to talk about that in 1 second. That's the next story. But we do... the question is here, is this good that this information was released? Because the judge initially didn't. I believe the jury, they also wanted a statement
be read aloud in the court. The judge didn't allow that to happen.
But some of the information was already out there, so, I mean...
Not legally, though.
Yeah, but, I mean, you could see Chris Kaba, you could see his previous convictions. I mean, they can't, hide that. It's just...
But I think the press weren't allowed to report
But we weren't allowed to report it. And when I mentioned it, I believe I mentioned it on this show on Monday, and it had to be taken down.
Yeah, well, the Met Police... There's something interesting about this, that the Met Police actually were the ones who said that this information should be out there. And I'm wondering if maybe this is evidence of the Met kind of learning their lesson, learning that holding this information back actually can lead to greater community disorder, rather than just putting the truth out there and trusting that people can handle it.
Was it the Met holding it back, though?
Yeah, the Met was so concerned. Well, the Met was so concerned about the impact of the police, the public being kept in the dark, that the Deputy Assistant Commissioner actually wrote to the judge warning him it would cause civil unrest if they held that information back. So for me, that's a very positive step that the police seem to be understanding now that this stuff, people are not stupid. People don't want to feel like they're being lied to, even by omission.
But it was the family. It was Chris Kaba's family who are
but I'm just saying that
holding it back.
But it's the police who are writing saying no, this information should get out there to prevent civil unrest. I think that's.
I agree, and as a general thing, we saw with Southport, it was much better if it was out. It didn't work to suppress it. I don't think that's really working in general anymore. Did you know he had 6 convictions before he died? Chris Kaba, his first convictions were when he was 8 and 9 years old in school.
I think year 8 and 9, maybe.
Oh, yeah, year 8. How old's that, then?
3. 13 or so. Also, he was... I just like the line he was saying. He hit... Obviously, this is tragic, but when he shot someone, he hit him just below the buttock, which brought back fond memories of Forrest Gump.
It's really in the edgy zone of whether we should be serious or comedic. It's an impossible job we have.
It's a fine balance.
As long as people realise that.
We're going to keep on hitting it. Right.
A fine balance is how he'll be sitting.
Nice.
Very nice. Right, a related story in The Guardian, Leo, with how to keep armed officers anonymous. He could try being a right-wing comedian.
So officers on trial after shooting suspects are going to be anonymous in future, says Yvette Cooper, who's our Home Secretary. So Yvette Cooper...
She's your Home Secretary.
She's all of our Home Secretary.
Yeah, not my Home Secretary. I've got signs that say that.
So this came after the acquittal on Monday of the Metropolitan Police Sergeant Martin Blake for shooting dead Chris Kaba in South London in 2022. The jury took just 3 hours to find him not guilty, and that was unanimous. And Blake, the police officer who shot Chris Kaba, did his job very well in a high-pressure situation, has faced death threats, and also there's a £10,000 bounty put in his head as well, allegedly, although I probably shouldn't be advertising that. I don't know who watches this show, but, there could be some gangsters out there. But yeah, Yvette Cooper said, when officers act in the most dangerous situations on behalf of the state, it is vital that those officers and their families are not put in further danger during any subsequent legal proceedings. And it's great and kind of amazing to see Labour actually siding with the police, siding with civilisation, siding with common sense, and saying this. And I think anybody who thinks that, this is a miscarriage of justice and Chris Kaba shouldn't have been shot, I think the police should go on strike in those constituencies, in Jeremy Corbyn's constituency, in Diane Abbott's constituency. I think this sort of clawing, this grubbing around for virtue signalling political points should have consequences.
Well, as Leo says, Nick, this is arguably a very positive step from Yvette Cooper. There is an argument, of course, why was his name released in the first place?
Yeah, exactly. It's a good step, but it shouldn't have been out in the first place. It's good that it won't be in future. They can't do it. Armed police can't do their jobs. We saw that other case where they ended up handing in their weapons in protest. You can't do your job in this social media age, etc., this very this divided political culture war age, where people side with the criminal. In many cases, we have this anarcho-tyranny kind of system where people side Corbyn, Abbott, they've instinctively sided with the criminal. We see it in America with the Daniel Penny case, which is relevant at the moment, where people say, he stopped that guy on the subway, accidentally killed him. Oh, he's suddenly the villain. No, he's the hero. And he has to be if we're going to have a society. Even Chauvin, and it's controversial, was badly treated because there's a lot of evidence that Floyd had too many drugs in his system, and that was what killed him. Chauvin gets stabbed in prison. Should his name even be out? So I don't see these people should be out. I don't think it's fair on the police. And even Chauvin, that's a controversial example, but definitely this guy who's just doing his job.
Well, that's it. But there are issues now with that information being held back. There are people who are sort of complaining that actually what's going to happen is that police officers would receive greater protection if something went wrong whilst they're in the line of duty, which then could be gone put the other side. If someone hits someone over the head at a protest or something and they die, then, well, look, if it was a pro-Palestinian one, I'm fine with that. Right, the Mirror-Next, Nick, and thousands of North Korean troops are joining the Russian army. Are they getting paid in calories?
Nice, that's a good joke. Kim Jong-un's North Korean troops to arrive on Ukraine front line within hours. And funnily enough, I'd said the same thing. Are they nourished? Do they know where Ukraine is?
We've got some float of them. They look very Russian. Do you want to see quickly?
That's not them. That's still me. Quite well nourished.
I was not going to say anything.
I said it. I don't mind. That's totally still me.
Oh, there we go. Well, that's some tarmac.
That's tarmac. That's not me.
Oh, this is my favourite bit. The handsome allied officers from North Korea.
Yeah.
Soldiers. Are they handsome?
That was weird. That
we
was
haven't actually got any yet.
The Russian video, yeah. It actually said the handsome allied soldiers.
We didn't see any soldiers.
We saw a lot of tarmac.
That's the worst clip ever.
No tarmac was harmed in that clip. Yeah, I mean, so that was the tarmac. But yeah, they were called handsome soldiers, which is absolutely mental. This is quite disturbing. It's like when the Penguin gets together with the Joker. It's Putin and North Korea, the last two people you wanted to get together.
Yeah.
And by the way, Kim Jong's sister has called the Ukrainians bad dogs and lunatics, which is just weird. I mean, of course, they have a different attitude to dogs over there, so... And a bad dog... maybe it's better to be a bad dog in North Korea, because you don't get eaten.
Yummy dog.
Am I right?
Yeah.
Is any of this OK? I don't know. Ofcom, let me know.
So, Leo, could this plan backfire? And basically, I'm imagining that all these North Korean soldiers are just going to go, can I please seek asylum?
Oh, they're all going to get fed into the meat grinder. I mean, they don't have any rights in North Korea, so they're not going to have any rights on the front line in Ukraine.
That's a metaphor, the meat grinder thing,
it's
right?
No, they're literally like... Russia just uses these sort of meat assaults. They just wave after wave. It's been their military doctrine since the start of time, even before then. But this is going to backfire for Putin as well. So South Korea is going to be very worried that they're going to have all these thousands of North Korean troops getting battle experience, and they're going to come back battle hardened. So they're going to give assistance to Ukraine to help them. And they've got millions and millions of artillery shells, which Ukraine desperately needs. And they've also got, because they've been preparing for the last, 50, 60 years for a ground war, they've got lots of equipment for a ground war, for exactly this kind of thing that's going on. So they're going to do that. Also, what's interesting in Ukraine at the moment is Zelensky is threatening to bring back nuclear weapons. So Ukraine got rid of its nuclear weapons after the end of the Cold War.
They were given promises, weren't they?
They were given security guarantees, which turned out to be worth absolutely nothing. The amount of assistance that we've given Ukraine is really a pittance. Everybody cries like, oh, we've given so much money to Ukraine. They're just getting old kit. It's ridiculous. We should really be helping them more. Hopefully Ukraine is going to get nukes and we're going to have World War III.
Great. Are you happy, by the way, that you got to talk about Ukraine?
He did for ages, and for balance, I'm against Ukraine and want to get less.
For balance, I don't know. Of course, I'm for Ukraine. Right, we're halfway through. There's loads more to come after the break, where Keir Starmer avoids addressing racism and Kamala Harris just makes it up. See you in a moment.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Through into this evening and overnight and into tomorrow, largely dry with a mix of cloud and clear spells. Still fairly windy across the northwest of Scotland, though. We can see this clearly with the squeeze in the eyes of ours as this frontal system makes its way in. Otherwise, generally high pressure across most of the country, bringing us that mix of cloud and clear spells overnight, turning a little bit chilly under those clearer skies too. Across Scotland, though, a cloudier picture. Plenty of blustery winds overnight with a risk of coastal gales by the time we reach the morning, and just some outbreaks of rain edging into the Outer Hebrides. A fairly cool night under those clearer skies, but not turning quite as chilly as it did last night. Now, those blustery winds are going to continue across Scotland, still with those risk of gales, particularly around any exposed spots and across any coasts, with just that rain edging into the far west. Otherwise, largely dry, plenty of cloud, quite a cloudy start across Northern Ireland too, and across the north of England, and some blustery winds just blowing up through across the Irish Sea as well. And once again, across the rest of England and Wales, a mix of cloud and clear spells to start the day. And that pretty much sets us up. Once again, a mix of clouds, sunny spells, the best of the sunshine across East Anglia, Sussex and Kent, for example. And then we still have that rain continuing to slowly edge its way into the northwest, so western parts of Northern Ireland, western parts of Scotland, starting to see those outbreaks of rain as we head into the afternoon, and still those blustery winds continuing. But highs of around 17, 18 Celsius in the south, so feeling pleasant for the time of year. Heading into Friday, quite an unsettled day. We've got those outbreaks of rain erratically moving their way eastwards across the country, some heavy downpours at times. As this clears away, we will see some brighter weather along with some showers too. This sets us up for a fairly unsettled weekend with rain and showers, so stay updated. Otherwise, that's it from me. Bye for now.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Weekdays on GB News. Wake up to breakfast every day from 6 a.m. Followed by Britain's newsroom at 9:30. At noon, it's Good Afternoon Britain. Followed by Martin Daubney from 3 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. Let's get straight back into it with Thursday's Guardian, Nick. And Starmer doesn't want to talk about reparations. Is that because he'd have to give all those free clothes back?
Great question, Josh. So Starmer says he wants to look forward and not talk about slavery reparations. Finally, Starmer's come out with something I agree with, because I've said Starmer is like a dead-eyed shark, constantly going forward. But the good thing about that is he can't go back. He cannot go back. He can't look at the past. He can't think back in the past. He wants to focus on growth and trade between the Commonwealth countries. And a guy called Eric Phillips, chair of the Guyana Reparations Committee.
I'm on that.
Are you? Yeah. It's the Guyana Begging Committee. And they said, I just don't understand the relevance of the Commonwealth if Starmer takes this cruel approach. And he's saying, well, no reparations, then there would be no trade. So it's just kind of a shakedown from the Commonwealth. But, you know, we've done so much for the world. We ended slavery. We had a brilliant, totally benign empire. Nothing bad about it.
The Beatles.
Exactly. So why should we give anyone any money? That's what I say.
No, absolutely. And I'd love to think that this is because Starmer is somehow, you know, becoming more centrist and common sense, but it's not. It's just because he doesn't have any money. If he had to give reparations to Guyana, then every other made-up country that nobody's ever heard of before would have to get some money as well. And it's ridiculous. And also reparations are implicitly racist because they imply, you know, divisions between people and, you know, and implicitly suggest repatriation, which is, you know, an appalling thing to do in a you know, multicultural, reasonably stable country such as Britain. So yeah, the issues we just can't afford it.
I'm in favour of reparations, but for me, for the my ancestors in the Lancashire cotton mills, who really, you know, the ruling class really treated them very badly. It was a very tough time. They had a very low life expectancy. Where's my money?
Yeah, no. You can see the impact it's having you right now.
Don't get me started on Scotland.
Well, yeah.
We had from the Vikings.
You get nothing.
English. Oh, my God. Everybody owes us money. Luckily, those are both rich countries. We might luck out.
Just quickly, Eric Phillips, who, as you say, the chair of the Guyana Reparations Committee, just a big shout out to my group there. He said, no, we don't want money. We're not just talking about money. We're not talking money. So what do they want?
Maybe they saw Russia and Pakistan use tangerines as currency, and they want some of our turnips.
Oh, right, Leo, the Mail has Kamala calling her political opponent fascist, which is a pretty fascist thing to do.
Yeah, Kamala Harris compares Trump to Hitler and calls him an evil, racist fascist in a 3-minute plea to America. I mean, I like Trump, but I don't think he's that good. So she said, obviously a little joke there.
I know.
A joke that will be played back on Twitter many times by our enemies.
So she said, if I may quote, "It is deeply troubling and incredibly dangerous that Donald Trump would invoke Adolf Hitler, the man who is responsible for the death of 6 million Jews." I'm glad she cleared up which Adolf Hitler she was talking about there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know there are some other ones. There's, you know, a politician in Africa.
There's also a shop in Gaza. There was Hitler. Oh, true. Then there was Hitler 2 for the second outlet.
Right, yeah. That's what all those people are marching for. But yeah, I don't know, if Democrats hate Nazis so much, why are they recreating Weimar? Why are they, you know, recreating all the things that led to the rise?
Also, why do they want
the
death? Arguably, some would say that the Democrats want the death of more Jews. For the Democrats who are calling for withdrawal of any aid to Israel.
And if we're going to talk about fascism and unchecked power, which is what Kamala says Trump wants. The Democrats have openly said they're going to pack the Supreme Court, fill it with Democrat nominees. They're going to remove the filibuster, so remove one of the Democratic tools for stopping legislation. They're going to censor criticism of the government by saying it's misinformation. They're already using mass immigration to tilt the electoral balance in swing states. They want to jail dissidents. Biden said today that he wanted to jail Donald Trump. I mean, this is...
Lock him up.
I thought he said he wanted a big...
And then he added on the end politically because he was worried about getting in trouble. Part of his brain kicked in and was like, oh, better say that.
Nick, this all came from Kelly, right? His former chief of staff?
This conversation, John Kelly, years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, something like that, and allegedly Trump said something about I need generals like Hitler or something. Probably was a joke knowing Trump. He's pretty funny.
And he said supposedly Hitler did some good things. These aren't... It isn't...
Did he say that?
So he said he alleged that Trump once said Hitler did some good things.
So I imagine... I don't know about the conversation, but I imagine it would have been a joke. It's completely absurd. Kamala Harris it's on Twitter, this full press conference. I've just watched the whole thing. It's so disturbing and weird. She's obviously desperate. She knows she's going to lose, and she's coming out and putting Donald Trump's life at risk, I think. Many people are saying this. By calling him... He's already had 3 assassination attempts. Those are just the recent ones. Then you imply he's Hitler, or you outright basically say he is, and you say he certainly falls into the general definition of a fascist. Trump's basically a liberal. He's going to govern as a sort of libertarian liberal. He's going to have Elon Musk. He's going to have high-skilled immigration. He's going to be worrying about the economy. He's not a fascist anyway. It's so absurd. He was in for 4 years. What did he do that was fascist? It's so desperate. It's so insane. I actually am quite worried watching it because if they're prepared to go that insane, you just wonder what they're capable of. And just lastly, it's offensive to Jewish people. Also, Trump is the most pro-Israel president possible. So
that's why I like it now.
He wants to reduce the power of the government. So he's the opposite of a fascist.
Well, we'll see what happens. We've only got how many days to elections? 15 days? 13 days. Wow. Whoa. OK, exciting. On to the Daily Mail now, where a Muslim woman named Begum has communicated a load of anti-Semitic and anti-non-Muslim rhetoric. Nick, is she related to Shamima?
One wonders. It's Met police officer hailed as an inspirational role model, is sacked for offensive tweets about Jewish people and non-Muslims. That's the rest of us. We're just the non-Muslims.
You got in there somewhere.
Yeah. It's Ruby Begum, which sounds like a kind of terrorist ska band, but it's PC Ruby Begum. She used language such as dirty Zionist, which is the kind of thing you expect to hear in a Leo Curse WhatsApp group, but not as a police officer.
My wife and I a bit of sex play.
Yeah, exactly. But that's all fine. That's all consensual. But and she also referred to the Kuffars, of course, which is all the rest of us non-believers. And she wrote some really shocking things. She said, you must be stupid if you think I'm going to do 2-minute silence for 9/11. She said, Kuffar lips have been all over my mug. There's no way I'm using that thing again. So things like this. I'm all for free speech. The issue becomes, of course, when you're a police officer, will you treat everyone fairly if you hate lots of people?
Let's have a look. Here's the officer on duty before she was sacked. She kind of looks a bit rubbish at her job.
Yeah, that just proved that she's not that good at pushing. I don't know what we were supposed to get from that. But yeah, it's pretty shocking. So she's saying it's a while ago, etc. There's another allegation from a few days ago that she had contact with a woman in ISIS in Syria. That was alleged in the Telegraph, so I don't know about that. But it's not great. You obviously can't keep someone making comments. There's also comments about Pakistanis, but they're so sort of bad. They're not even allowed in the article, which we often see these days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is, I mean, wait 10 years. These are going to be, mainstream opinions. I don't know if you can see how, the demographics and the attitudes in the UK are shifting. All this is going to do is encourage people to keep those attitudes to themselves and not put them on Twitter. She was only caught because she put them on Twitter. And, somebody described them as, the comments as so vile that members of the public could not be confident they would be treated fairly. Like, you're going to get treated fairly by the police and the criminal justice system anyway. We've just seen, we've got a complete 2-tier system.
Yeah, and she's completed 2 rounds of equality and diversity training, once in 2014, once in 2016. I think maybe they just had...
How did that not work? That always works.
That's so strange. Leo, let's go to the iNews now, which has the government being Islamophobic.
Yeah, so Muslim schools could be forced to close due to the VAT on private fees. So an analysis of the accounts of Islamic independent schools suggests that 70% of them will not be financially viable and could ultimately face closure if the 20% VAT on private schools is introduced in January. This is one of Labour's key pledges. They said, listen, if you vote for us, if you unemployed people vote for us, we'll punish the rich people by putting VAT on private schools, even though it doesn't benefit the country in any way. All it does is push more people into the state school sector, so it actually costs us more money, but you'll have that feeling of revenge and destroying somebody who's rich. And there are more than 3.8 million Muslims in the UK, but only 184 Muslim faith schools. So this idea that they get revenge on the rich people is backfired, and it's actually harming Labour's favourite protected group.
So it's interesting, Nick, that, I mean, this law will apply to any private school of any faith. But it's interesting that so many of the Muslim faith schools are private. 141 of the 184 Muslim faith schools. That's quite a lot.
Yeah, but they're on the lower end, which is, of course, why they're affected by this. We've done this exact story before. I just thought it was quite a sort of bitter irony that, the left and Labour are allegedly very worried about Muslims and treating them fairly, but they hate the rich so much they've accidentally penalised them with this, which is sort of bleakly funny if you hate Labour. But that's, you know what I mean? It's kind of funny.
We want everybody to be treated fairly, but of course there are going to be unintended consequences.
I was against the whole thing. My conscience is clear because I was against the whole thing in the first place. It already penalised. They thought it was about going after Eton people. Yeah. It just penalised ordinary aspirational people, which includes Muslims.
Yes, well, we're going to do one more story before the break. Finally, in this section, Nick, the French get tough on who they let in. Not into the country, but, universities. Yeah, elite French university revives entrance exam to combat AI fears. So who'd have thought it? They're going to actually have to do proper exams like we had to do back in the day, old school, in the analogue world, because... I mean, this is a ridiculous thing. The timed written entrance exam, previously deemed too elitist. If French education can't be elitist, what can? You know what I mean? That's the whole point of it. But they're saying because of ChatGPT, etc., you can just obviously fake your whole preparation, rig it all, etc. So you need to have timed in the room. That's what we had to do. That's the normal. Well, that's it. Leo, is this the beginning of a trend?
Well, I think, ironically, being able to use AI would probably be much more use than being able to pass this exam. But yeah, so much stuff can be faked on AI, and you can't check it. You can't really check for plagiarism like you could when somebody's cutting and pasting. So yeah, we're probably going to see more of this.
It's a good point, actually. This is only useful if there's a power cut and you need to know what Shakespeare meant in Midsummer Night's Dream. It's probably not going to come up. AI is better. You're right.
Right, that's the end of part 3. One more section to go. Join us for some kissing, reanimated swine, and the greatest conspiracy of all, the clock's going back. See you after the break.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Serving some of the most talked about food in Chelsea, executive head chef of Number 50 Cheney, Ian Smith, has created a range of menus with a hint of the homeland, using the finest British ingredients sourced by trusted suppliers. Ian Smith was head chef at Jason Atherton's Social Eating House and spent time in the kitchens of the Galvin brothers. Ian joins me now to tell more of the story. Tell me about Number 50 Cheney.
Yes, so we are a beautiful restaurant down in the corner of Chelsea on the Embankment with an amazing team. And we really pride ourselves on, being an affordable luxury that people, really are wanting to return to week in, week out.
What's the view from your restaurant?
We can see the Embankment, the Thames, and Albert Bridge, which is very nice.
Very nice.
Actually lit up. Very romantic.
And tell me a little bit about your philosophy. I was talking there about having a touch of the homeland, British food, seasonal food.
Yes. Yeah, I think, for me, great cooking is, with simplicity on finest ingredients, cooked with simplicity, and ultimately, there to be enjoyed through... Yeah, sorry.
No, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was going to say, it starts as a young person's business. You went into it very young, didn't you? 15?
Yes. Yeah, so I was 15. I sat in my parents' bedroom, called the Ritz, the Dorchester and Claridge's, and very luckily, a man on the end of the phone, 21 years ago, sent me on to a college course called the Specialised Chef Scholarship. 3 days later, I had a Ritz stamp letter through the post, and off me and my parents went, and luckily I got on the course.
And how old were you when you got your first responsibility, would you say?
I think the biggest responsibility in my career is today. Leading Number 50 Cheney.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Welcome back to Headline as we jump back in with Thursday's Independent, Leo. And should the government stop touching our clocks?
Yeah, so the government have been told to stop changing the clocks as doctors issue health warning. So a group of scientists and doctors have told the government to abolish the UK's twice-yearly changes, which is coming up this weekend. They say it's harming the nation's sleep. This is from the British Sleep Society. They must love this. This is a real...
The BSS.
The BSS.
As they like to be called, not BLM.
They sound like they sell sofas. But no, they talk about sleep. So they argue that circadian rhythms, which is the little grasshopper legs on your back that make that nice noise during mating season, they say the physical, mental and behavioural changes we experience over 24 hours are most impacted by clocks moving forward in the spring. I mean, you could just get up at a different time.
Yeah, well, this debate has been going on for a long time now, and every year these arguments come out. Do you think the government will ever make a change? I mean, it's all about Scottish farmers, isn't it? That's why we do it.
You know, I'm surprised. Well, I'm surprised Keir Starmer doesn't want to do something because he wants to make tough decisions at the start. So he could just change it. That'd be massive. He changed the clocks. Well, part of it comes from Kaiser Wilhelm, doesn't it? In wanting to do with fuel.
Kaiser?
Yeah, which I find really weird that we're listening. Peter Hitchens always says, "Why are we still listening to this Kaiser?" And it is kind of strange. I mean, I get up very late. I'd be OK with the hour forward as long as we kept it the same. I do think we should keep it the same. It is absurd, right?
Make it light in the evenings. We don't get light in the evenings.
I'd be cool with that.
Awake in the morning.
And we should, or we could put it
for our audience at 5 o'clock. Good morning.
We could put it 4 hours forward so Kemi Bay not get to a meeting on time. That's a topical joke. Sorry, Kemi. I'm sure she's great.
She's got 3 kids, mate.
Which apparently she's always late to everything.
So what?
Are you always late? Are you using the kids' defence?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why you weren't here for the first 10 minutes of the show.
Exactly, but not mentally anyway. Right, the Times, Nick, and it turns out that smooching evolved as a way to remove bugs from body hair. Is that why they call it French kissing? Get it?
I don't even know how to begin with that. Where did kissing come from? New theory may make your skin crawl. And basically what it is, it's a scientific paper, and it's determined that you kiss someone to check if they're trans. No, that's not the reason. I made that up. What it is, this guy who has a scientific view of kissing more than a sort of empirical view. He's from Warwick University, and he reckons it's to...
No kissing going on there.
He reckons it goes back to removing ticks and lice from one another's fur. I don't believe that for a second. I think it's what I said. And he points out, I mean, he says, he sounds like a guy who's never kissed anyone. He's just describing it. He says a protruding of the lips and slight suction.
So a very incel way to describe it.
Yeah.
But how you do it? I've been doing it wrong.
Yeah, you haven't been getting enough suction, John.
How many ticks and lice have you been getting? I've got to be honest,
my wife does, she shaves now.
I'm still using it. Oh yeah, now that you've had, did you have lice? Is that why you shaved your head? Really?
Yeah,
you had lice.
Yeah, exactly.
But I still use it for removing ticks. It's wonderful. My family all sleep in the treetop.
Yeah. This is a Scottish issue.
Yeah, yeah.
OK, very good. Well, it's an interesting theory. I don't know if it's true or not, but wait for the next paper. iNews, Leo, about advice, mothership and relationships. Who better to advise us than a female comedian?
That's right, Catherine Ryan, very funny comedian. She says, don't wait for the right relationship to have kids. Do it alone. So she's 41, it says here.
That's funny.
I'm sure she is.
Yeah.
I mean, she wouldn't lie. But she put the wheels in motion for donor insemination, aged 34. I don't think there's any pictures, unfortunately.
I know, Wayne. I can't believe she... call him that.
She checked her fertility levels and bought sperm from Seattle. The British sperm had weird reasons. Very colonialist, and the Seattle guy was like, I love my mum, I love my skateboard. Sounds weird to get inseminated from a guy who'd say something like that. So she says, yeah, just don't... There's no need for a family. There's worries around creating a family that's not traditional, but what about the family where a father is a philandering alcoholic who gambled the family money away? So it sounds like she's a bit of a control freak who doesn't want her fella to gamble or have any fun. But yeah, I think children do benefit from a male presence, but you know, she's got a boyfriend, so they're going to have the male presence. And I think it's great that she's going ahead and having kids, because we need more people to have kids.
Yeah, Nick, you going to have kids by yourself?
Thanks. Look, quickly on this, I hate to do stories about people I know, have worked with and like. I like Catherine Ryan, but I do think she's wrong, because although you say, Leo, they will have the male presence, kids need a male presence, because if the boys don't have a father, they end up in crime, and if the girls don't have a father, they end up on OnlyFans. This is well known, right?
Yeah, well, the ones I follow on OnlyFans. On to the Daily Star, Nick, with a list of health conditions that can get you extra cash. Please tell me that being bald is on the list.
It's right on there, Josh. It's DWP names full list of 48 health conditions that can get you an extra £434 a month. I mean, the government is screaming. They're trying to get people back to work, and they're trying to, get people off sort of laying about and malingering. And they're going, tell you what, guys, there's 48 new health conditions we've just invented. And so it can't be good news for the economy. They're apparently just making them up.
But they don't mention any of them. Like, it enticed us in with this article. You go, oh, what have I got? I'm going to get 400 quid, and then they don't tell you.
I'm glad they don't mention them, because then people will find a way to get themselves diagnosed with one of them. They're incentivising illness. What they should do is put a tax on ill health. If you had to pay more if you had one of these health conditions, then you wouldn't have the health condition. You just get a job and go to work.
Good point.
Everybody's healthy. The economy does much better.
It mentions one. One of them is called Lewis-Schaefer disease. That's a new one. That's the only one it mentions.
What are the symptoms?
Just being really annoying. I'm sorry, Lewis. Just kidding. Had to say something.
No,
great guy.
Enough. Show is nearly over. Let's take another quick look at Thursday's front pages. We have the Times. PM's chief of staff is drawn into Trump row. The Telegraph. Starmer's top aides drawn into Trump row. Oh, same headline. Guardian. Schools funding crisis grows as special needs costs soar to $10 billion. Mail. Fury over Reeves' raid on private sector pensions. The Sun. Ban on vapes. And the Daily Star. American war of interference. That's it for tonight's show. Thank you very much to my guests, Leo and Nick. Simon Evans will be here tomorrow at 11 p.m. with Kerry Marks and myself. And if you're watching at 5 a.m, stay tuned for breakfast. Bye.
We say goodbye now.
Yeah.
Bye. Bye.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Through into this evening and overnight and into tomorrow, largely dry with a mix of cloud and clear spells. Still fairly windy across the northwest of Scotland, though. We can see this clearly with the squeeze in the isobars as this frontal system makes its way in. Otherwise, generally high pressure across most of the country, bringing us that mix of cloud and clear spells overnight, turning a little bit chilly under those clearer skies too. Across Scotland, though, a cloudier picture. Plenty of blustery winds overnight with a risk of coastal gales by the time we reach the morning, and just some outbreaks of rain edging into the Outer Hebrides. A fairly cool night under those clearer skies, but not turning quite as chilly as it did last night. Now, those blustery winds are going to continue across Scotland, still with those risk of gales, particularly around any exposed spots and across any coasts, with just that rain edging into the far west. Otherwise, largely dry, plenty of cloud, quite a cloudy start across Northern Ireland too, and across the north of England, and some blustery winds just blowing up through across the Irish Sea as well. And once again, across